New details about the death of Food Network star Anne Burrell. Reports now say it was her husband.
Hi, everyone. I am Chef Anne Burrell, host of Worst Cooks in America. Yes, I am not one, and I will help you to be not one, too.
Laying on the floor of her shower, surrounded by dozens of pills.
At 7:50 a.m. yesterday, officers arrived to Anne's Brooklyn home. The Worst Cooks in America host was unconscious and unresponsive.
We were on such a high.
She looked great last time I saw her, which was just a couple months.
The world was caught off guard when news broke that celebrity chef Anne Burrell had passed away suddenly at the age of 55. Fans who had grown up watching her on Food Network, aspiring chefs who had learned from her shows, and colleagues who knew her brilliance in the kitchen were all left stunned by the announcement. And wasn't just a chef, she was a personality, a mentor, a firecracker wrapped in platinum hair and brightly colored dresses. Her sudden death wasn't just a personal tragedy for those closest to her, but a cultural loss for the world of food and entertainment. Early reports confirmed that Anne had suffered a heart attack in her Brooklyn apartment, discovered by her husband Stuart Claxton on the morning of June 17, 2025, though paramedics arrived within minutes. Nothing could be done to revive her. The shock was immediate, and within hours. The story was everywhere, in major news outlets, trending across social media platforms, and flooding the inboxes of food bloggers and culinary organizations. But as fans began to process the tragedy, quieter but no less emotional drama unfolded behind the scenes. Anne Burrell's estate, valued in the millions, was now in the hands of her grieving family, and the reality of her legacy became more complicated than anyone expected. Anne Burrell had amassed a surprising fortune over her two-decade-long career in the spotlight. Estimates place her net worth around $4 million at the time of her death. Some believe that number could grow substantially in the coming years due to royalties and posthumous earnings. Her assets included her Brooklyn loft, originally purchased for just over $1 million, but now valued at nearly $2 million. A testament to both the hot real estate market and Anne's impeccable taste. There were also sizable earnings from her long-running television work, including Secrets of a Restaurant Chef, Worst Cooks in America, and dozens of appearances on other Food Network staples like Chopped, The Best Thing I Ever Ate, and Chef Wanted. Her two best-selling cookbooks, Cook Like a Rock Star and Own Your Kitchen, continued to sell steadily, and her name remained a trusted brand in the kitchenware and cookware markets. Her passing activated complex legal processes, as her estate, involved not just cash and property, but intellectual property rights, royalty structures, brand contracts, and charitable commitments. For her family, her husband Stuart, her mother Marlene, her sister Jane, and her stepson Javier, the grief of losing Anne was now intertwined with the burden of preserving what she had spent her entire life building. And it wasn't just about dividing wealth, it was about deciding what to do with the enormous responsibility of carrying Anne's legacy forward. The legal battle didn't resemble the public's idea of courtroom drama. But it was heavy nonetheless. Beyond the bank accounts and royalty statements lay a more delicate matter: how to protect the essence of Anne Burrell. Her family, admirers, and legal team were faced with decisions about whether to continue her charitable projects, how to handle the reruns of her most popular shows, and whether or not to publish her unfinished third cookbook, a personal project Anne had been quietly working on for the past year. Insiders close to the family revealed that Anne had intended to launch a scholarship for young women pursuing culinary arts at the Culinary Institute of America, alma mater. That plan, though unfinalized, may now become a centerpiece of her legacy. Discussions have also begun around forming a foundation in her name, supporting causes close to her heart like juvenile diabetes research and food access programs for underserved communities. But nothing about Anne's estate is simple. Even in death, her vibrant personality looms large, making every decision feel loaded with significance. Those who knew her best say that Anne would have wanted her life to continue making a difference, to empower home cooks, to make food joyful and accessible, and to mentor the next generation. Yet navigating contracts, image rights, and ongoing media content has proved emotionally taxing for her loved ones. As they sort through the contents of her home, the clauses in her contracts, and the heartfelt letters from fans, it's clear that what Anne left behind is far more than money. A legacy still unfolding. To truly appreciate what made Anne Burrell so beloved, one must look back at where it all started. Born in the small town of Cazenovia, New York, Anne was raised in a tight-knit family where meals were central to daily life. She credited her mother and grandmother for her early passion in the kitchen, recalling nights spent watching Julia, child on television and mornings spent helping with Sunday breakfast. Yet Anne didn't take a direct path into the culinary world. She first earned a degree in English and communications, and for a time, it seemed she might pursue a career in media. But a deeper passion was calling, and in the early 90s, she enrolled in the Culinary Institute of America. It was here among knives and stoves that Anne truly came to life. Classmates remember her as a dynamo, someone who worked harder than anyone else, someone who didn't just want to cook but to lead. After graduating, she trained in Tuscany, Italy, immersing herself in classical techniques and rustic traditions that would later define her signature style. She worked long hours in small kitchens, absorbing the heart of Italian cuisine, its discipline, its soul, its storytelling. When she returned to New York, she was no longer a student but a force. She joined some of the city's top restaurants and quickly rose through the ranks, eventually becoming executive chef at Centro Vinoteca, a high-profile Manhattan restaurant where she crafted every menu and mentored dozens of young chefs. Anne's rise wasn't just impressive, it was explosive. She had something rare, technical mastery, an unforgettable presence, in a way of making even the most intimidating kitchen feel like home. Her transition to television felt natural. Anne's energy, wit, and spiky platinum hair made her instantly recognizable, but it was her honesty and teaching spirit that won over audiences. When she joined Food Network's Secrets of a Restaurant Chef in 2008, she wasn't trying to be a star, she was trying to help people cook better. The show ran for 9 seasons and earned critical acclaim for demystifying professional techniques for everyday home cooks. Anne wasn't about fluff, she was about results. She gave tough love, but always with encouragement. Then came Worst Cooks in America, which debuted in 2010 and became her defining platform. For 15 years, Anne guided some of the most hopeless kitchen disasters toward redemption, and her no-nonsense coaching style, mixed with her deep empathy, made her both feared and beloved by contestants and audiences alike. Her success wasn't limited to one show. She became a fixture on Food Network, guest judging, hosting specials, and mentoring rising stars. She even launched culinary cruises, taught classes across the country, and became a regular at food festivals. Her cookbooks sold in the hundreds of thousands, and fans from all walks of life, stay-at-home parents, college students, seasoned chefs, looked to Anne as a source of strength. What made her special wasn't just the food, but her belief that anyone could transform themselves, one recipe at a time. Perhaps that's why her passing hit so hard, not just because of the loss, but because of what she represented: resilience, reinvention, and joy through cooking. Off-screen Anne's life was just as colorful and courageous. She was open about her struggles and her triumphs, never shying away from her truth. Her engagement to fellow chef Corin Grieveson in 2012 was a moment of public visibility in the culinary LGBTQ community. And later, her marriage to Stuart Claxton in 2021 gave fans a glimpse into her softer, more grounded personal life. Anne was private, but when she did share, it was always authentic. She loved fiercely, worked tirelessly, and gave generously. Her charitable work included serving on boards for organizations like the Garden of Dreams Foundation and City Harvest, where she helped combat hunger and mentored aspiring chefs from underprivileged backgrounds. Even after a failed attempt at opening her own restaurant in 2017, a venture called Phil and Anne's Good Time Lounge didn't let the disappointment define her. She spoke openly about the experience, admitting the challenges of the restaurant world and sharing the lessons she learned. She was never afraid to fall because she always found a way to rise. That, more than anything, is the thread that runs through Anne Burrell's story: an unshakable belief in progress, in perseverance, in the power of passion. And as her family now carries the weight of her estate in her memory, the world is beginning to understand just how much she gave, not just in recipes or shows, but in soul. Through every episode she ever filmed, Anne Burrell left behind more than just recipes. She left behind a piece of herself. In the days following her passing, tributes flooded the internet. Messages from fellow chefs like Sunny Anderson, who wrote simply, "Devastated," and from Gigi Hadid, who posted, "Rest well, legend," echoed across platforms. Hundreds of thousands of comments from fans of all ages, home cooks, food lovers, and young chefs shared their stories about how Anne had inspired them. These weren't just condolences, they were testaments to the multidimensional impact of Anne's work. Major publications, including the New York Times, People, and even the Hindustan Times, published tributes recognizing her as an icon who redefined what it meant to be a chef on television. Yet Anne's influence stretched far beyond the screen, or the pages of her best-selling books. Her husband, Stuart Claxton, along with their children and close friends, announced plans to continue the charitable causes Anne had poured her heart into. What followed was a wave of collective action. Colleagues, former students, and organizations came together to launch scholarships, cooking workshops, and educational programs in Anne Burrell's names at empowering young women. Entering the culinary field, community centers hosted tributes during cooking events, pausing to reflect on Anne's legacy. Her image, the spiky platinum hair, the mismatched socks, the joyful chaos she brought into every kitchen became more than a memory. It became a symbol. Food Network began airing special tribute episodes with behind-the-scenes clips and heartfelt messages, while planning new awards to honor the most inspiring chef of the year, named after Anne herself. On YouTube and TikTok, millions rewatched her funniest moments, her toughest coaching advice, and her signature sayings, all forming a digital archive of the vibrant spirit she left behind. But perhaps the most profound part of Anne's legacy lies in the real cultural shift she sparked. She didn't just make cooking accessible, she made success in the kitchen feel possible for anyone, no matter their background. Countless young women have shared that it was Anne's journey that first gave them permission to dream. From her community work and charitable outreach to her simple wardrobe quirks and unmistakable style, the Anne Burrell effect lives on, not just as a memory, but as a living philosophy. One rooted in passion, resilience, and the unwavering belief that knowledge should be shared, not gatekept. Anne Burrell didn't just influence an industry, she influenced a generation. And as long as people continue cooking, laughing, teaching, and believing in themselves because of her, her story will never truly end. If Anne Burrell inspired you in any way through her cooking, her courage, or her personality, take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments. Subscribe to the channel, and stay tuned for more stories honoring the legends who shaped our world. By remembering them, we keep their flame alive in Anne's case. That flame burns bold, bright, and beautifully unfiltered.